What's up, guys? This is the Atheist Chef, and surprise, surprise, Gman has made a video, and I have a problem with it. So around 39 seconds in, Gman says that atheists say that Christians' faith is basically belief without proof. Well, technically, the word we were looking for was evidence, and the difference being is that evidence leads to proof. Multiple bits of evidence tend to lead to proof. Very slight, small distinction, and that's kind of nitpicky, but, he's making a video about clearing up definitions, and he's clearly not doing that at all. Secondly, when an atheist claims that a Christian's faith is basically believing without evidence, what they are most of the time trying to say is that Christians do not have non-subjective or empirical evidence. Basically, a proof that is, or evidence, that basically can work for everyone. Because, personal claims of interactions with something don't really count. Because think of how many people think that they see aliens or think that they see ghosts. Are we going to claim that their interactions are true? Are we going to accept that subjective data? No, most likely not. Some do, but it doesn't make it, it's not an objective data. It's not empirical. We don't believe it. So for that reason, we ask for objective data or non-subjective evidence that shows to say that you have something more than the people that believe they saw aliens or ghosts. So yes, G-Man and Christians out there, atheists do need to learn to kind of put a different use of the word evidence, because Christians do have evidence, and evidence that they believe is enough. It's subjective evidence. It only works for them, but they feel as if they have evidence. So in the future, atheists, if you're watching, try to be more specific to the types of evidence, because everybody has different definitions to those words. Now, we're going to move on to about a minute 35. G-Man asked a question similar to, if people did not have proof, would they be a believer? Would they be a believer? I actually completely agree with G-Man. If they did not have some kind of evidence or proof for what they believe, they wouldn't believe it. That's pretty much how belief works. You have to be convinced of it for some reason. So they have evidence and they have proof. It's definitely not the proof that atheists are looking for, because we're looking for objective or empirical data or empirical evidence. But what you tend to offer is purely subjective. So you have evidence, but it's not the evidence that works for other people. It just works for you. Again, I refer back to the people that see ghosts and aliens. So around 2 minutes 34, we get to the real meat of the video. He quotes the scripture, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of the things unseen." Now, you kind of started this video talking about how you were going to clear up the misconceptions of the definitions of faith. However, all you did was rattle off scripture. However, you give no real definition or description of what the scripture actually means or what is implying. So, I went out and did some legwork, and I actually hopped on Reddit, and I actually went and asked on the /Christianity subreddit, what is faith? And are atheists, viewing faith the wrong term? Are we giving it the wrong definition? And of course, pretty much every one of them said, yes, we were seeing it wrong. And I absolutely agree. However, one thing was clear was that there was way more definitions than I thought. There was some Christians that believed, the typical, as what G-Man described, was belief without evidence. And again, we refer to empirical evidence or non-subjective evidence. Some others believed that it was belief despite the evidence, that regardless of whatever evidence you throw at me, I know God is real, that this is all fake. Or, well, let me rephrase that despite the evidence. I've even seen some people, like my ex-girlfriend, that said the evidence was a conspiracy and it's planted by the devil, blah, blah, blah. You know, this is, she believed that Obama is the Antichrist. So that's the level of, caliber of people that we're working with on this argument most of the time. And I said most of the time, not all the time. Then I even had some people say that it was belief in evidence beyond the evidence. And basically, we don't have all of the information, that we don't know everything, so that there's evidence for God that we just haven't found yet. And that's not a half-bad convincing argument, because we haven't found it yet. So, not a terrible argument, and not a bad, half-bad stance to follow. And then some more, mostly more liberal Christians, talk about how faith is more of an act. Basically, you have to be, faithful. And that's kind of hard for me to describe. But like when they say somebody is faithful or they're unfaithful, they're devoted, they have a sense of honor or duty. They're bound to that duty. And duty. Number 5 was more along the lines of that you've seen God's goodness and you've seen what he has done, or you heard of it, and you have faith in that. That is your evidence. Now, I'm actually going to take that as what you mean by faith, that you believe in this last one. And there's some others that I mentioned as well, and they were kind of vague, so I kind of forgot what they were. However, the point remains. It's really not that clear just by rattling off that scripture what your definition of faith is. So you're really not helping us out here, G-Man. There are way too many different definitions and too many different Christians that hold different beliefs about what faith actually is. So you need to define your terms just a little bit better. And around 3 minutes in, G-Man says something to the effect of, if he didn't answer my prayers, if he didn't talk to me, if the promises that he said would happen didn't happen, and a few other things, I wouldn't be a Christian. As far as the prayers thing go, and this also goes into your the proof of answered prayers. I made a video about that, and I'm hoping that you're going to get a chance to check that out eventually, and I'm going to link that down below, because this is a lot to talk about that I do not want to try and bring it up here in the video, because it would take me another 5 minutes, and no thank you. But that video should talk about answered prayers, and regardless, it's still subjective. Then you also go off and say that, if God didn't talk to me, then I wouldn't be a believer. Well, you don't even really know that it's God that talked to you. You feel that he is, you claim that he is, you know in your heart that he was. However, think of all the crazy people out there that felt that God was telling them to do something stupid. Think of those crazy people that said that God said to, kill this person or whatever. Your claims that God speaks to you and tells you to do things or, whatever, are not that much different than their claims. Sure, you can argue that God didn't tell them to, it doesn't tell Christians normally to stab people in the face. But, there's many Christians out there that they think God tells them not to go to the hospital because prayer will heal their child. Again, so you may be a different level than the stab your face kind of Christians. I'm sorry, not Christians, stab your face kind of crazy people. But your claim of interaction with a deity is just as subjective as the person that claims, that healing heals their child and they don't have to go to the hospital and they end up dying. So then you talk about promises that God said he would keep, and I'm not sure if you mean that on a personal promise between you and God or if you mean that in the Bible, so I'm really not going to touch that until you really give me points on what you mean. So then I'm going to move on to the healing, your personal healing, that you've seen healing. Again, very subjective, and I'm going to refer back to the video, which I'm going to link it back down below again, about your proof of answered prayers, because I believe I covered that, pretty adequately there as well. So now we're going to move on to the that he got me through problems. It's also subjective, because you don't really know that God actually did it. We can't prove objectively that he did it. It only satisfies your personal belief, but it doesn't help with anybody else. Because you can't claim that, because it's very possible that your belief in a God encouraged you through that belief. You believed so much that God was going to help you that it kind of triggered that brain's your confidence and whatnot. And so you were actually able to do it yourself because you felt that God was going to do something. So you thought to yourself, yep, well, I'm going to do it now because I've got God's help. So you were able to trudge on through and push through, fight through all the little crappy life that we all have to go through. However, us non-believers actually do the same thing, but we don't use God. We just use our resolve and say, well, I have to do this. I have responsibilities. I got to take care of this myself. And so we muck through it the same way. But we don't add a God to it. We don't tack him on and give him the credit for it. So once again, subjective. So that's it. So Gman, I hope you see this video. Hopefully you'll be able to come up with something, a response. I look forward to it. I will also be doing a video about the misconceptions about the word faith and go into greater detail and talk about how both Christians and atheists are misusing this word in their arguments. Talking about how there's such a disagreement on terms that we end up just talking past each other and really not getting anywhere. So hopefully this will be a small little push and a nudge in the right direction to helping make better arguments. So that's it tonight, folks. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Atheist Chef. Thank you so much. Peace. And as always, comment, give me some thumbs up, share with friends, subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot. Names of interactions with something don't really count, because think of how many people think that they see aliens or think that they see ghosts. Are we going to claim that their interactions are true? Are we going to accept that subject? Is that Christians do not have non-subjective or empirical evidence. Basically, a proof that is, or evidence, sorry, that basically can work for everyone. Because, you know, personal claim. What's up, guys? This is the Atheist Chef, and surprise, surprise, Gman has made a video, and I have a problem with it. So around 39 seconds in, Gman says that atheists say that Christians' faith is basically belief without proof. Well, technically, the word we were looking for was evidence, and the difference being is that evidence leads to proof. You know, multiple bits of evidence tend to lead to proof. Very slight, small distinction, and that's kind of nitpicky, but, you know, he's making a video about clearing up definitions, and he's clearly not doing that at all. Secondly, when an atheist claims that a Christian's faith is basically believing without evidence, what they are most of the time trying to say